Hey everyone. So I've never really done anything like this. I'm gonna apologize. I've done little Instagram videos that are a minute long off my phone. This is a full blown video. I don't unfortunately have any editing software, so yeah, this is a few attempts here, but I'm gonna go ahead and try my best. I apologize about the light behind me. That's the only light I have in this room. So hopefully it's not too distracting. I also apologize in advance. I might swear a few times during this. I'm sorry. And I'm going to talk about my surgery and stuff like that. But I don't know if you've ever seen the meme with Charlie Day is the guy's name, where it says like how normal people tell a story, and it's like a straight line, like point A to point B, and then it shows him, and it's like a murder, like those murder investigations where it's like all over the place, like ribbon and string and all that, or yarn. That's what it is, yarn. And this is how I tell a story. I'm fairly bad where I'll start telling a story and then it reminds me of another story and I kind of get sidetracked and distracted. So I'm going to try and stay on point. There might be a few stories in here, but I'm going to talk about, what I remember about surgery, the afterwards, leading up until this point, which is now, as of April 7th, is 6 months post-op. I can tell you that despite how scary it was, despite me not having a job going into it, I got fired right before my surgery, before I was supposed to leave. I can tell you that despite everything that happened, it was by far the best decision of my life. It's something that I wanted since I was a kid. So, yeah, dreams can come true. We'll with that, I'm gonna get started. So, yeah, so everything was covered for the surgery. I just had to pay for flights to Montreal. It cost me about $700, which I was able to claim on my income tax, which is really awesome. But so you have to pay for your own flight or however you want to get out to Montreal. They put you up for 2 nights in Holiday Inn in Laval, Quebec, which you arrive in Montreal. They pick you up in they technically called it a limo, but it was a big fancy SUV that is allowed to park in the limo spot at the airport. Kind of strange. Paperwork said a limo. I was kind of excited, but definitely not a limo. And they drive you, it's across like a lake to Laval, Quebec. And so you stay at the Holiday Inn there. There's a big fancy mall across. And they give you, in the room, there's two enemas that you have to take the day before. And they give you two cards for breakfast. So you can, like, my mom came with me, so she got breakfast, and I got breakfast because you can only have breakfast the one day because you can't eat the day of your surgery. So we flew up to Montreal. My mom came with me. We flew up on October 5th, 2 days before my surgery, and got into Montreal. I think it was around 2:30 in the afternoon. They picked me up from the airport and drove me to the hotel Laval, Quebec. Got all checked in and everything and went over a few things. And so you also get, I believe it's $100 a day for food at this restaurant that's attached to the hotel. And however, we went and ate there once, and it was bar food. Like I had a chicken burger and tater tots. It wasn't anything special. So that was actually the only time we ate there was one meal. I think it was like $40 for the two of us, and we just charged that to the $100, and that was it. And then, you're allowed to eat a full meal, a full supper the day before the surgery. So, Saturday was the 5th. We went up. We had supper at that restaurant that was attached to the hotel there. And then we went to walking around. It was interesting. We found a theater, so I went and seen the Joker movie, and unfortunately it wasn't. I personally didn't like it, but it's definitely a different experience being in Quebec. All the previews and everything were in French, and then the movie starts and it's in English. Everybody around you is speaking in French. Most people, like I sat down. There's different conversations. Most of them are French, and then, like I said, the previews, and then the movie is English, and that's because that's how it's produced is in English, and if they want it dubbed in French, like there was a French version playing, but it has to be redubbed, so it's not the original voice actors, stuff like that. So most people do go see it in English. Um, but So that was interesting. And then Sunday, my mom and I we went on a guided bus tour of Montreal. So it was actually my first time using Uber, where I've used it off my phone and paid for it and stuff. I think it was like a $45 Uber ride from Laval, Quebec, over into Montreal, one way. It was about $100 for Uber rides from Laval to Montreal and then Montreal back to Laval after. But so we went on this guided bus tour. Was really interesting. They stopped at certain places and let you take pictures. You got to take pictures of like Olympic Stadium. The guy talks about a bunch of stuff, and what I found kind of funny is most of the people on the bus tour were Americans. And it's really strange because like people are asking where I'm from. I'm wearing a Saskatchewan shirt. I mean, it didn't it said Saskatchewan, but it's spelled differently because it's from Hard Pressed. I don't know if you ever seen it, but it's like SS. KATCHWN, like Saskatchewan, like shortened. And I told people I was from Saskatchewan, and they're looking like, what? So that was really strange. Like the bus, the tour guide, the bus driver, there's a few people that knew, like, okay, like that's cool. But yeah, most people were from the States on this bus tour. And, it was definitely interesting. Like, I'm glad my mom came because I wouldn't have done that if I went by myself. And then, we went back to the hotel. I had to take my first enema. I think it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 5 or so, which, if you don't know what an enema is for, it's for to empty your bladder. So basically, well, not your bladder, but to empty your bowels. So basically that after you have surgery, you don't have to shit. And so... my mom's a nurse, and she told me straight up that she wasn't going to help me with it because she's, done that enough times in her life. And I was like, okay, like how hard can it be? And it was definitely something that I hope to never have to do again. We'll put it that way. And so you have to take one in the afternoon, and then you can eat a full supper. So my mom and I went walking around again, and we found this pizza place. The menu was all in French, actually. Most places we went to, they had French and English, and they talked in English and stuff. As soon as you said hello, they would change from speaking French to speaking English. This restaurant, the menu was all in French, but we were able to figure out, we ordered, spinach and feta pizza, and it was really freaking good. It was awesome. Like, we went, it was a long walk to where we went, but it was, cool. It was nice out in October there, and we went for a walk, and then went back to the room, and I took the next enema, and and then so Sunday what the heck? No, that was Sunday. Okay, yeah, sorry, got distracted there, but yeah, so then the next day, which Monday was the day my surgery was scheduled for, so October 7th. They let me know that my surgery was actually first up, so I was one of the first ones to go. And they said that I had to be there at 6 a.m. So what they said was, go down to front desk at 5 a.m. and let them know, and they will call you a cab. So went down to the front desk, and it was at 5 a.m., like 5 in the morning, and told the guy working that I was ready to go, and they called me a cab. It's pouring rain out, and so the cab drives us from Laval to Montreal and drops me off at the CMC, which is the clinic where this is done, and it's about 5:30, 5:40 by the time we get there, and it's still pouring rain, and apparently the place doesn't open until 6. So my mom and I were in like a bus shelter, trying to stay out of the rain and stuff, and then I met, there's another girl that was there with her parents, and, we were talking to her for a bit, and, like, her parents, and we were chatting about a bunch of stuff, and she was from somewhere in Ontario. I want to say Waterloo. There was actually a few people from Waterloo that I met there, but I don't think that's right. She was from Ontario, and they actually drove. I think she said it was about 8 hours that they drove here, and one of the things that I wish I had looked into, I didn't even think of at the time. Her parents were saying that they found a Airbnb right close to the clinic there that it was like I think $50 a night. Basically, it went cheaper the longer that they were there because they were there for 10 days, which is how long you have to stay in Montreal for. And I straight up told my mom, I was like, I don't want to make you stay the whole time because, in a hotel is, say $130 a night. If you're going to stay for 9 nights or whatever, like that's a ridiculous amount of money. I don't want you spending that. So she actually only stayed a few days, but I wish I had looked into an Airbnb because, $50 a night, and they were within walking distance of this, of the clinic, and stuff like that, which is really cool. So I kind of wish I would have looked into that, but unfortunately I never had to deal with Airbnb and never even thought of that. So, but yeah, so 6 a.m. rolled around, they let us in. We had to do a bunch of paperwork, they confirm that who you are, they go over your license, everything, they ask you a bunch of questions, they verify everything, you go through some more paperwork, they ask you more questions, and then they take you into your room, like your hospital room. And there's a safe in there, there's a closet in there, there's a bunch of stuff, and you get changed into a gown. And Dr. Brassard, which is the surgeon there, that's the one I have. So there's Dr. Brassard and Dr. Belanger. And so the other girl that was with me had Dr. Belanger, and I had Dr. Brassard because they do so many surgeries a day. And so basically he came in, introduced himself, talked to me and my mom and stuff, and one of the things is a little bit embarrassing, but so one of the things that I was most paranoid about going into surgery is, I'm 5'3". I'm not very big down there, and if you don't have enough tissue down there, you have to get a skin graft. And in all the paperwork that I looked through, like the risks and complications, there was way more risks and complications involved if you needed a skin graft. There's extra healing, stuff like that. And I was so paranoid that I was going to need a skin graft, and so Dr. Brassard asked to take a look, and honestly, as a guy, that's probably the first time that I've ever, pulled down my pants and showed somebody what I had down there, and I was embarrassed about it, and he told me everything was good, there's enough there, and I started, I was jumping for joy and started laughing, and my mom is like, "What's so funny?" And I was like, "Well, I thought I was going to need a skin graft, like I'm good." And so that was awesome. And then after that, holy man, I talked too much. I'm at 13 minutes. But so after that, then they, you change into everything, you get ready, and then they put you in another hallway, which is where I met the other girl that I went in with again. Like we went in at 6 a.m. I was beside her in a hallway. We were sitting there, we were chatting, became pretty good friends. Like I added her on Facebook. I've got her like as a friend on my Switch, like Nintendo Switch. Out of everyone there, like she's the only person there that gave, I think I gave her a hug. She gave me a hug goodbye. We became friends. We chatted, stuff like that. But, so we chatted in the hallway there, and then we got to meet the anesthesiologist, which is, she's the one that administers the anesthesia. And she goes over a few things, talks about a few things. And then after a while, once they're ready for you, I want to say it's like 7:30 a.m. at this point. I believe that's about what time, because I think my surgery was scheduled for 8 a.m., if I'm not mistaken. And so then you go into the operating room, and I don't know how many people in there. There's probably at least, I want to say there was, 5 people, if not more people in there. Like there's a lot of people in this little room, in this operating room. And the anesthesiologist, she gives you like this pillow and says like arch your back like a scared cat, and I'm thinking like like what is she talking about? And so you like lean over this pillow and kind of arch your back, and then they inject your spine. I believe it's called an epidural, and and then you kind of get carted believe you get carted off, or maybe you just lay there, you get carted off after. But I remember, like, telling the anesthesiologist that good luck trying to find like a vein in my hand for IV, which was the next part after getting the epidural. And she was laughing and said that she's the best and that she was gonna do it. And then lights out. Like, I don't remember anything else after that. Like I said, I remember her laughing and said that she was the best. And then I remember waking up and not being able to feel my legs. And let me tell you, that's fucking terrifying. Like, I sitting there in this strange room with people I've never met before, and I can't feel my legs. And so they do this, and that's just a side effect of the anesthesia. And they do this, I think it's called a cold test. And there's this, it reminded me of like a brick, and it's cold. And they put it on the side of your leg, and all over your leg, like they move it around, and you basically let them know if you can feel it. And so if you can feel it, you're good. You get wheeled out, and you get wheeled into your room. If you can't feel it, you have to wait so long, and then they try again. And I believe it's about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. And anyway, so I had to have this done 3 times before I could feel it. Starting to get paranoid, like I can't feel it. Can't feel it. Can't feel it. Can't feel it. And so I was in the room for like an hour extra long because I couldn't feel my legs. And at this point, like it's scary. It's fucking scary. And finally, like I could barely feel it. Like I could, feel a little bit, and they put it on my leg, and I was like, I can feel like it's cold, And they said, okay, so they wheeled me into my room, which is where I was before. I said there was a safe in the closet, like the room that I was in before, and they. Then you're hooked up with a catheter. You got this big mound of Band-Aids on your crotch, and you have on the top of your mons pubis they have like a drain, which is it's like a circular tube that pumps blood out. Like it's really strange. Like it's so you got like this circular tube that sits there and collects blood, and it's really kind of terrifying to look at, and so there's blood there, and every time you get up there's blood underneath you and stuff, and it's kind of creepy and kind of gross, and is what it is. So they have the whole area where you're in the rooms is like a giant square. So I had a roommate at that time, which actually was a different girl that I never met before. And she was actually just getting ready to go for surgery while I was getting back. So how it works is they do, I don't know how many a day they would do, but they do so many a day for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The clinic is actually closed Thursday, Friday. Yeah, so that's right. Yeah, so they don't do any on Thursday, Friday. I believe it's just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, okay. And so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday they do the surgery. They however many they can do in that day, because they can also do the female to male surgeries. And so then they have all these rooms in this square, and in the middle they have like a nurse's station, like information. The nurses are in there and working and stuff. And so what they do is they get you to get up, and you do laps around this square, and you have to take your catheter with you. So you got the pole, and you hold on to the pole, and you walk around while you're carrying your catheter bag, and you do laps. And so just because you got to get up and walk and stuff, and that was interesting. I had really no problems doing it. Like I think the first couple times, a little bit dizzy, a little bit awkward, but was able to do it. And they feed you 3 times a day. There was actually this really cute guy nurse that was there, and he would be the one that would tell me about all the meals every time, and he'd be the one that like translate it, because they gave in the list in French and he'd translate it. And the meals there were actually incredible. Like I think I had roast pork. It was vegetable lasagna. It was really good. Soup, blueberry pie was good. there's a few things. Like it was really good. So, and how it works is because I went in on Monday. So I'm in the CMC, like the clinic there, Monday, Tuesday, and then on Wednesday they moved me over to the recovery center, which is attached, which is it's basically like this giant old house that's attached next door, and it has so many rooms. It houses 15 people total that stay there, and so you have to stay there for the next 6 days because the whole thing is 10 days. So at this point, it's already like I was scheduled to leave on, or scheduled to arrive in Montreal on the 5th, and scheduled to leave on the 15th. So this point, it's already the 9th. So yeah, the 9th to the 15th, I was scheduled to be in the recovery center. I think it's called Escapade, Lescapade. I'm not sure exactly how you say it. I remember I'm in a Facebook group with people that have been through the surgery or people that are going through the surgery there and stuff, and somebody described what it meant. It was actually really cool meaning. But anyways, so they move you over there, and I was on the second floor, and I had a roommate as well, and it was actually the same girl that I was roommates with in the clinic, so got to meet her a little bit more. She was like 6'3", made me feel really tiny. And so there's a bunch of different stuff you have to do there. You don't have the catheter bag anymore. They took out the catheter bag, and they actually give you a plug on the end of your catheter. And so they tell you, like, if you feel like you have to go pee, you stand over the toilet and you open up this plug, and it shoots. It's like a hose, and it shoots out pee, and so then you close it up and you kind of clean it off and stuff. And it was annoying. I hated it, and you had to get up. I think it was every 3 hours in the night to empty your bladder, is what they said. So I set an alarm every night for 3 hours, and then you go and you empty it. And actually, one of the nights I forgot to close it, so like I opened this hose and empty my bladder, and it's definitely the strangest feeling I've ever had to go through. And then I forgot to clamp it closed, so I start walking out of the bathroom. Like it's there's a bathroom, and then like my roommate's bed was there, and then my bed is like right by the main door into this room. And so I'm walking back to my bed, and there's basically pee running down my leg, and I'm like, what the hell? And I in the middle of the night, and realized that I had fucking forgot to close this stupid catheter. And so sorry, I apologize again about everything, but I said I would go into detail, and I find some of the stuff kind of funny. It's so you get the surgery, so you don't have to stand up to pee. I mean, but you have to because you got this catheter tube, and so it's definitely interesting. And at the recovery center there, they did meals 3 times a day, and you had to actually get out of your room and walk down to the main floor where they had a giant dining room table, and actually everybody that was there, it was max capacity at the time was 15 people. They had a giant dining room table which I think sat 10. I think it sat 10. That seems about right. And it's basically like a mini buffet. They would write on the board what was for the meal. Like the only time they didn't do that was breakfast. Breakfast there was waffles. You could make oatmeal. There was bagels, all kinds of juice, coffee, stuff like that, whatever you wanted. And then for lunch and supper, it'd be like the mini buffet, and the food was phenomenal. Like that was probably my favorite part. Like there was, I don't even know how to describe some of the stuff we had. Like they had like hot stuff on one side, and then the other side was cold section, and it's all kind of fruits and veggies, and that would changed every day. I apologize there. So different fruits, different veggies, like different salads, all the time, all different. Every meal was different. It was really good, and so, but it kind of felt like a mental institution a little bit. And just let me explain. So you would go down and you'd sit at the table, and the nurse would be like, what room are you in? And you tell them your room, and then they would give you pills. and they'd always ask you like how much pain are you in, everything. Do you want stuff like stool softeners, so you can shit, um, and stuff like that. Like, well, you don't have to. I think it's the second day you're there that you're supposed to have a bowel movement. Like, um, but so they give you medications. Like, there's like anti-inflammatories, all this kind of stuff, and they give you all these medications, and then you sit at this table on a donut. The only way to sit is you have this little inflatable donut that they give you, and you eat this meal. You talk to some people. There was actually this one girl from Texas that was there, and she was really cool. I think she was the only one that got, the bottom surgery, and as well she got breast implants at the same time. And because she's from the U.S., she had to pay completely out of pocket. Like, I think she said like her total bill was about 38,000 Canadian, which is pretty crazy to think about. But she was actually really cool. We chatted for a while, and yeah, like every meal, there'd be a few of us that would talk together, and how it worked at the recovery center is, like every day there'd be people leaving and then people coming and going, and that's when I said, they did surgeries Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then sorry, they weren't closed Thursday, Friday, but Friday they were closed Saturday, Sunday. So they did surgeries on Wednesday, and then Friday they would move you from CMC to the recovery center on Friday, and then they'd be closed Saturday, Sunday, and at the clinic there. And anyway, so in the recovery center, there's different people you meet every day, because people would be done their time and they'd leave, and you'd always be meeting new people. And yeah, there was 15 of us at one point. Actually, they said normally there's a few people, normally around 2 or 3 people that go through the female to male surgery, but actually at this time there wasn't any, which was, I thought that was kind of interesting. Would have been kind of cool to meet somebody going the other way. Yeah, what else can I tell you? So, they would ask you how much pain you're in and tell you not to sugarcoat it. Like, don't hold it in. If you're in pain, say you're in pain. Like, and everybody's different. I personally never really had pain, like just kind of discomfort. You have this big mound of bandages on your crotch, and like you basically wear like pajama bottoms, like pajama pants, like all week. You can't shower for a while. And like when my mom was there, we went for a walk, stuff like that. Like, it was kind of interesting because I'm wearing pajama pants in the middle of the day. We went for a walk down by the lake and stuff. Beautiful, like the weather there was incredible. And anyways, so how it works too is, so I went to the recovery center on Wednesday, and on Saturday they removed the bandages down there. And so basically, after that point, the only time you wear pants is to go to eat. Any other time you don't have to. You're not supposed to wear pants. Like even sleeping, you're supposed to sleep naked. I got in trouble because I went for a walk. Well, you can do stuff like that. Like, you have to sign out. Like, I went for a walk, and I came back and I had a headache. So then just kind of hopped on my bed, and I was kind of laying there, and I still had pants on. And one of the nurses came in and said, like, "Why are you wearing pants?" And that's another interesting thing that kind of caught me off guard. Is I'm used to being, hiding my genitals, and that was, someone described it as all basic in human decency kind of goes out the window. Like, you're not expected to wear pants. That's why they put in restrictions where like nobody's allowed in the room. If you have visitors, you have to meet them like downstairs. And yeah, basically, so I got in trouble because I was still wearing pants, and I just had a headache. I just jumped on my bed there and kind of laid there, and so you're not supposed to wear pants. And the first couple times, like, the nurse would walk by me because they have to clean out the bathroom every time somebody used it. Which, after you get all the bandages removed, you have to start taking what they call sitz baths, which is warm baths, and with soapy water. And then once you're done, you call the maintenance staff, and they come and they clean the bathroom, and then the next person, like, can do it. And so you have to do that every time before, like, the next person takes their bath and that. And so, the first couple times, like, the nurse would walk by, and I'd kind of be laying there in bed and pull down my shirt, to cover my genitals. And she just starts laughing. Is like, you don't have to do that. And I was like, oh, sorry, it's a habit. Just something completely different that kind of caught me off guard. And, like, yeah, no real human decency. And so that's Saturdays. You get the bandages removed, and then you have to start taking those sitz baths. You take 2 of them a day, and then and you still have the catheter in, which basically you're wearing when you wear your pants. You're wearing like these like medical underwear and a bunch of bandages and stuff in there, and also you're wearing like sanitary pads, which the ones that they had there were the most uncomfortable thing in the world. I'm not sure what brand they were, but they were massive, and I absolutely hated it because it was like they just got bunched up, and it was just not comfortable at all to walk around with, and yeah. So Saturday you had to start those 2 sitz baths, and then Sunday, yeah, do I have that right? Yeah, because I'm there for... Yeah, so then Sunday, you get the catheter removed, and basically, that's an interesting experience as well. Like, getting the bandages off the day before, they're like sewn into you, so, she's like clipping the stitches, and that was really uncomfortable. Like, and same with getting the catheter out is really uncomfortable. And then once you get the catheter out, you have to pee so much, so they have like the scanner thing that measures your bladder. After you pee, you have to pee into like a hat. I don't know how to describe it. Like, it sits in the toilet, and it looks like a hat, and it collects your pee, and it measures how much you pee. And so you have to, every time you go pee, you have to tell them like how much you peed, and then they do this bladder scanner, and like basically see how much is left in your bladder. And if you don't pee a certain amount, and like if you can't empty out your bladder fully for all the times in that day, like the first time it was, I think it was only about half I was able to empty my bladder, and that's fine. But they keep doing it every time you go pee and stuff. And then if you can't go pee enough, they put the catheter back in, and then the next day you'd repeat the same thing. And unfortunately, some people have to go like home with a catheter in, so it'd be again that same hose, and like where you'd have to open it up and pee. So it's not like you're walking around like a catheter bag or anything. So like it would be not very good to walk around with like this extra hose in your panties, but I'm glad that I didn't have to get the catheter put back in. I don't know if anybody there that I was with had to get it put back in. But yeah, also peeing was the strangest feeling in the world, because the first time that I had to go pee, I sat on the toilet. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, like, and you kind of have to like, lean and shift and stuff to actually pee into that hat, because otherwise it kind of goes everywhere, and it's definitely interesting. Slowly get the hang of it, but it's a completely new experience, and so let's see. So then the Monday, which is because I was scheduled to leave on Tuesday, October 15th. So Monday is the 14th. I'm going to actually look that up. That seems about right, because you're there for... Yeah, okay, so yeah, Monday is the 14th. The last day that you're there, they teach you how to dilate, which you have to do for the rest of your life. So the body treats the vagina as a wound, and if you don't dilate, um, it'll actually close up because the body tries to heal it, and so it'll actually close up, which can cause like lots of complications and stuff, and require further surgeries. So you have to actually dilate for the rest of your life. Um, and I had a couple people. I was posting about it on my Facebook and stuff. A couple people asked me like, somebody mentioned this dilating. Like, what's that? And I got them here, and I'll kind of show you. Um, so basically, you get. It comes in this pretty package. Actually, it's kind of cool. But you get these dilators. They're called medical grade dilators, and so the ones that they want you to use, they actually give you three sizes, but you're not supposed to use the smallest one unless you absolutely need to. There's actually a smaller one, smaller than that they don't give you. But off the bat, like they said, I had lots of swelling down there, so I did actually have to use the smallest one. But you're supposed to use the biggest two, so those are the two that I'm going to show you. And I apologize. Hopefully this isn't going to creep anybody out or whatever, but this, if you're interested, buy this. So this is a medical dilator. This is number 3 out of 4. And so what you have to do is you put lube on the end of this, and you actually hold it inside your vagina for, this one is 10 minutes. So needless to say, I've actually been going through a lot of Netflix shows because you have to do this. It starts off 4 times a day, which is fucking insane, but so you hold this in there for 10 minutes, and then once you're done that, you move on to Big Orange. And this thing is freaking massive. So you move on to Big Orange. And so this one you have to hold in there for 15 minutes. And like I said, it starts off 4 times a day, so they actually give you a schedule. And I'll explain that in a second. So they teach you how to do that, and once you're done that, you have to douche, and then once you're, you have to do that 4 times a day, and so then I had to get up bright and early the next day because my flight left at 8. So I think I was up at like 5:30. Does that seem about right? Yeah, and I had to dilate and then get ready and make sure that I was out of there by 7 a.m. No, it was more than that, like 6 a.m. because my flight left at 8, so I had to be so it was actually way earlier than that. But yeah, so those are medical grade dilators, and actually here's the actual schedule that they give you. So I was going to take 8 weeks off work. I actually felt really good. I never had any pain through the whole thing. Like, I got a tooth pulled a month later, and that hurt a hell of a lot more than my surgery. And again, everybody is different. I seen other people there that were wincing in pain, that were in a lot of pain, always demanding, pain pills and stuff like that. And they prescribed me Tramadol, and I never had to take any of it. I used some of them for my toothache after I got my tooth pulled. I mean, I had them, might as well, like they were painkillers. So I was going to take 8 weeks off work if I didn't get fired. But in my opinion, like they tell you 6 to 8 weeks, they should actually say, even though I said I felt really good, if I were to go back to work in 8 weeks, in order to actually do the schedule of recovery, I would only be able to work half a day, and even then. So what you have to do is you have to do the dilation 4 times a day. In addition to that, so this is, so the first month, which started actually October 13th, because that's the first day that you start dilation. And so it says you do on about 9 a.m., you do the dilation. then you douche, and then you take a shower, and then at 1 p.m. you do the dilation, then you take that sitz bath, and you douche again, and then in the afternoon it says 4 p.m. you do another dilation, you douche again. You have to douche after every time you do dilation, which is basically what they give you, and what I've been using is they give you, if you know what Summer's Eve is, it's a little plastic bottle that's got a nozzle. You just shove in there and squeeze it, empty the contents. I've had to buy a few of them because basically disintegrated, but it actually only shoots out the side, so I actually had to poke a hole in the top of it so that it shoots up. But it seems to work okay. And you have to use saline, which is salted water, for the first 2 months after surgery. But and so that was kind of annoying because, you know, if I traveled anywhere, like if I went and visited my parents, I had to actually buy saline, like bottles of salted water, and they were like, I think it was $10. Like, it was stupid. At home, like, I was able to boil water. You boil water for 20 minutes, you add a bunch of salt, you let it sit for a while, and then you just fill up, like, I had like a big jug, and then you have to use it within 24 or 48 hours. So then every 2 days I was just making more saline, like more salt water. But so you, what the hell did I do? Oh, okay. So, yeah, so that's, you know, for the first month, yeah, you have to dilate 4 times a day and do all that. And how are you supposed to go to work if you have to take 2 baths a day and you have to do that? You know, you basically sit in a bed, like lay in a bed and do the dilation. Like, how are you supposed to do that? So even half a day would be pretty crazy, because so you're supposed to do 4 dilations, and you're supposed to go for, they recommend going for 4 15 to 30 minute walks a day. And also, in addition to that, oh, I forgot to totally mention this, but in addition to that, they give you this ice bag, and you basically, you fill it with ice, and then you put that on the area, and you have to actually move it around every 10 minutes. And the full thing to do is 40 minutes, because you put it in 4 sections down there to reduce swelling. And you're supposed to do that 4 times a day as well. So yeah, you have to do the dilations 4 times a day. You have to do they recommend 4 walks. I think the most I ever did was 3. But I felt, like I said, I felt really good right after surgery. Like, just some discomfort because the panties that I had were actually too high cut. So it was actually, like, you know, really tight. It was kind of annoying. I had to, like, emergency go and buy panties after my surgery. I had a laugh about that. And so, yeah, so 4 dilations, 4 walks, and 4 of the ice sessions. Like, how are you supposed to do that in work, you know? And so that's for the first month. Then the second month is 3 dilations, but still 2 baths. So, you know, that's a little bit more manageable. And they actually say, like, you're supposed to ice for up to 5 months. You know, sometimes even more. Like, I stopped about 5 months. I slowly went down. I was doing it about once every second day, you know, twice a week, 3 times a week, and then now I haven't done it in about a month. And so the second month is dilation at 9 a.m. You know, same thing, same procedure. Then the douche, then the shower. Then at 1 p.m. Then at 4 p.m. Like, these are the times, like, just the schedule that they kind of give you. You adjust them to your schedule and change them. Again, was dilation, and then another bath, and then the douche, and then in the evening, you do the dilation again, and then the bath, and then the douche. And then they tell you to start exploring the area. Tell you to get, like, vitamin E cream and massage, the area and stuff like that. So it's pretty crazy and pretty hectic. The first little while of recovery is kind of like, holy shit, like, this is a lot of work, and And then the third month is the same thing, except you don't have to take the baths anymore. Thank God. And actually, honestly, I was taking 2 baths a day. It was so freaking annoying. And the maintenance people actually came in here one time and they were going through everybody's apartment, like checking for leaks, because they said they said that the water bill was so high. And I didn't tell them that I had to take 2 baths a day, like that I was the culprit. Like, I felt really bad. But what do you do? Like, I'm scheduled, this is what I had to do for my recovery. And then for months 4 to 6 is just 2 dilations, which I'm actually technically still on, even though, the 13th, so 2 days, is when I go to 6 months, which is 1 dilation. So I am super happy about that because so much more free time in a day. I work till 3:30 right now, so I'm gonna do it right after work so I can sleep in, because I was getting up at 4:30 to do a dilation before work. And then now I can do it right after work or anytime you want. You do the dilation and then you're good, and basically I do this until I hit a year post-op, which will be October 13th, and then after that it's once a week, whenever you want, once a week. And also, in place of any dilation, you could have penetrative sex if you wanted to. You can actually have sex after 12 weeks is what it says. I haven't even, thought about anything like that. So, what the hell? The fuck? What is that supposed to mean? Am I talking too much? But apparently my Budweiser red light went off, like the Ottawa Senators scored. There's no sports on, so I don't know why that would have went off. That's fucking crazy. I am at 46 minutes, so maybe I'm just talking too much. But definitely crazy last few months. I'm glad I am where I am now. Like I did yoga a little while ago. I love wearing leggings. Like I've never worn a bikini yet. Like I would just feel like I'd be way too embarrassed. But I'm maybe if I can, I'm still trying to do at-home stuff, like trying to keep my weight down. Obviously, during quarantine, it's a little bit difficult. But yeah, and the last thing I'll talk about is, so after my surgery, I had to, my family doctor, I had an appointment, I think it was 2 weeks after my surgery, where she took a look at it. We discussed a few things and went through some stuff, and she would take a look and make sure healing is good. And I seen her, was it twice or no, 3 times to look down there and just see if everything is good. So the first time, yeah, she said like everything is good. I mean, as good as it can be, because it, when you're first done the surgery, like, it's no real pretty way to describe it. Like, it's, some people have asked me, like, if I ever thought, like, holy shit, like, what did I do? Honestly, like, right after the bandages come off and stuff, and maybe the first, 3 weeks, it's kind of like you just have these 2 gaping holes down there. One is the vagina, and the other one is like where the urethra and stuff like that is. And then slowly it just kind of closes in, and the vagina gets smaller and somehow just expands massively. It's crazy, but like that's how vagina works. But the urethra kind of just like heals in, and so that's no longer like a hole. Like, it's absolutely crazy. But so saw my doctor. She said everything is good, and then one of the main complications, or one of the main things that happened from this surgery, like, it can really happen anywhere, but it's just because there's lots of friction down there, or it's just the area, like, it's not exactly the driest area, if you know what I mean. Like, it's there's lots of sweat glands down there and stuff, and so basically the friction and that, the body doesn't heal right sometimes, so the tissue, you get what's called hypergranulation tissue. And you have to, it basically can prevent healing. Like, it can stop healing. The body basically heals wrong, and then it thinks that it's healed, and so you have to get that burnt. And so they have to check, you have to constantly check. Like, they gave me like a big booklet to look through, and you have to make sure that you don't have hypergranulation. And so, like the first time I see my doctor, like she said everything was good. Then I went back again, and I have one little spot which is like hypergranulation is like, described as almost like a strawberry or like a bright red tissue. And so right at the opening of my vagina, I had like one little spot, and she had pointed out like I didn't even really notice, like and so the treatment is silver nitrate. You burn it off with silver nitrate. And so she had this stick. It almost looked like a piece of spaghetti. Like it's this really thin stick, and she lights it, and then your doctor would light it, and then like basically press and hold it against the skin where the area is, and it just keeps getting smaller and smaller until there's nothing left. And that didn't hurt, but oh my god, the smell, like it smelled like burning flesh. It was nasty. Like, I was trying not to gag as this is going on. But she had to do that once, then I went back for a checkup on that, and everything is good. At a year, so in October, I'll have to see a gynecologist, which will be definitely another new interesting experience, which I'm not really looking forward to right now, because, but I'm sure it'll be fine. And I have to see, so every year after that, you see a gynecologist for the rest of my life. Just like a normal woman, once a year you get it checked out. That's you pretty much, describing the surgery, everything that happened, my first 6 months, like I couldn't be happier. I started a new job basically January is December 30th, and I was able to make it work while doing the dilations and everything, and now I'm working from home, and my benefits kicked in at the end of March, and it's full prescription drug coverage. So actually, like, I still have to take hormones. Like, that's the other thing I forgot to mention is I still have to take hormones for the rest of my life. Like, I see my hormone doctor in the next little bit. He can recommend if it goes down or if it stays the same. But so I was on, it's called spironolactone, and that's to suppress testosterone. I was on at one point 200 milligrams of that, then we went to 175. And now I'm only on 50, and I'm hoping to actually be completely off of that. But let me tell you, right after surgery, testosterone is crazy, and what I've been told is women, like natural women, like cis women, they have adrenal glands in their back, which like everybody does, I guess, but like that's where cis women get testosterone from, is the adrenal glands in their back. And basically after you have this surgery, the body is like, oh shit, like testosterone's gone. So the adrenal glands in your back actually go into overdrive, and like I had like body hair and facial hair come back nasty. Like I've never, basically not as bad as pre-transition, but like black facial hair, black body hair. I was grossed out, and so I had to, like, I didn't want to even go back on spironolactone because I hated it. It makes you piss like a racehorse. It made me limit what I was eating because it's a potassium sparing drug, all kinds of stuff. And so they tell you to go back on it, but lots of people, feel maybe they had the same thing as me. Like I know I read people, my prescription ran out, I didn't want to refill it. But I actually had to suck it up and get put back on it, and then that helped settle everything down, and I believe now I'm hoping I can be off it completely. So holy crap, I've talked for 54 minutes. That's pretty crazy. I'm gonna upload this to YouTube. I apologize, I probably have to put it in parts. But yeah, there you go. There's my 6 months post-op GRS. I talked to way too fucking much. Thanks. Bye.